PA, Bucks County. We're getting all these, we got this McCormick thing. Mark Elias is there. He's trying to challenge. I looked at New York Times before you came on. They still don't have the Senate race called. It's this little collusion of the far left. What's going on in PA? What's going on in Bucks? Break it all down for us one by one.
Yeah, this is why when we launched the PA chase, I told people, I said, yes, we want to increase Trump's share of mail-in votes to 33%. But the reason I said that was not just because I thought we could win with 33% of the mail-ins, but because I knew that if we won by less than the amount of provisional ballots, we would be going through right now what Dave McCormick is going through, and they would drag this thing out for months. Okay. And obviously, I'm very proud to say that we hit 34.5% of Trump getting those mail-in votes versus Harris. I mean, that's up. He got 22% back in 2020 versus Biden. So 22 to 34.5. I'm very proud of that. Got to give Turning Point Action, Early Vote Action, America First Works, the Trump campaign. Everybody gets credit, right? It was a grand just finale of people coming in to get us where we needed to be. But here's where we're at with McCormick, okay? We're up by roughly, let's say, 30,000 votes, and there's about 100,000 provisionals in the state. Okay, now provisionals, people have to understand what a provisional ballot is. In the old days, you think of a provisional as, well, they didn't fill in the circle fully, or they kind of marked both candidates. And, or somebody shows up and they're not registered to vote there, they're registered in a different precinct. So they put all these in a provisional pile, and typically they don't look at them because they're not needed unless the election is razor thin like it is now. But what's happened is, because of the mail-in voting, it causes a lot more issues that then get deemed provisional. Let me explain what those provisional issues would be. One, they don't sign the envelope on the provisional mail-in ballot. Two, they don't date it correctly. And three, they don't use the proper secrecy sleeve for the envelope. And so what happens there is that creates all of these different issues that then get put into a separate pile, batch by batch, county by county, that are considered provisional. And then, yes, you have a couple of those, like the old days, where you have irregularities and somebody that came in and the ballot had some sort of issue. Okay, what's happened now is in Bucks County specifically, they are going against the Supreme Court's ruling that if they're not signed or they're not dated correctly, they're going to count them anyway. And this is what I tell people. These boards of elections and these judges, they're timid. They're scared. The left fights and they always capitulate. And that's what's happening in Bucks. So right now, McCormick's team has filed a lawsuit to hold them accountable and say, no, hold on a second. The Supreme Court of Pennsylvania has ruled that you cannot count a ballot. It is not legal if it's not dated correctly. And so these are the basic rules. And when people talk about legal votes, this is the perfect example. There are a set of rules you have to follow for your vote to be legal. They didn't follow the rules. And now the Democrats are using pressure with Mark Elias. And by the way, I wish we had people that fought with his tenacity. Good for them. I will give Whatley and Laura Trump so much credit because we're finally on par with them. But of course, they're fighters. They're going to try to use the courts to win this. So this thing's going to drag out. The automatic recount has been triggered because it's less than 0.5% of a race. And Casey had the option to say, no, I don't want to do it. He didn't say that. We're moving forward with the recount. But this is going to take court case by court case, county by county, to decide which of these ballots will count. And here's the good news. Even if all of the provisionals count, all 100,000, we still feel like we are in a position where he does not have the votes. There are not enough votes out there for Bob Casey, but Democrats want to put Dave McCormick through this pain, and they are the type of people I don't think they're going to relent. Bob Casey should concede right now. We could move on. We could get to work for the American people within the U.S. Senate. I don't think he's going to do it. And unfortunately, that's the Democrat playbook.
So how does this work in PA? You've got 3 PA Supreme Court justices up for retention in November 2025. So then if they vote no to retention, then there's special elections in 2027?
Yeah, it's a little confusing, but yes. The other thing I will share with you guys that are not that familiar with Pennsylvania is our mail-in ballot requests, they reset every year. Okay, so when you go to request your mail-in ballot, right, in some states, everybody gets sent a ballot. Okay, every registered voter, the ballots go out when they go out and everybody gets them. In Pennsylvania, the reason we got crushed in 2020 is because Democrats understood this and they worked it to get people to request the ballot. If you got a ballot at your door, you were like 3 to 4 times more likely to vote when you're just looking at those low propensity voters that we all targeted, right? So in 2025, it resets. Everybody has to request a ballot again. And we're trying to create that culture, that behavior of them being confident in requesting it and then dropping it off at their county office. So yes, we'll have retention elections to vote no. We'll have other local municipality, school board races, but there are going to be races all across Pennsylvania. But the most important thing here is that it resets. It resets January 1. So that's what we have to do, is go out and chase applications or requests for people to get a mail-in ballot.
All right. So last question here. 1 minute, Cliff. Explain the role of the RNC in Pennsylvania. Whatley, Lara, Trump, are they on top of this lawfare Mark Elias attempt to rob another Senate seat?
Absolute rock stars. Okay, I'm not paid to say that. I have no incentive to say that. The RNC between 2020 and 2024, when you have LaCivita, Blair, Wiles, the whole Whatley and Trump, I mean, everybody, they understood that we had to triple down on lawfare. We had to triple down on making sure that we're protected and we have election integrity. They've been 3 steps ahead on any issue we've had in Pennsylvania. And look, I'm grateful because I don't have the bandwidth, right? Scott Pressler doesn't have the bandwidth. We have the things that we were assigned to do. We went out and did our job, but none of it would have been worth it if we didn't have a legal team behind us backing up everything that we were doing to make sure that this was a fair election. So I feel very confident, and I'm proud to say the RNC has just really stepped up and been there when the country needed them most.
That's fantastic news. I mean, we don't have to litigate it now, but the change to the RNC, the timing of it turned out to be critically important to the outcome of this election.